Well, good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 22nd of December 2025. Now, a good friend of mine, Kerry, was up here for a few days and we had a good time, a couple of days, and ran around. Now, one of the things that he is making, or a video, he's very, very popular, he's got about 3,000 subscribers, is a trip from Sydney to Brisbane. He says that you can do for $5.50. Now, I've got a caution on that in one respect. You can do it in the way he is doing it, but it's a very, very long trip, a long day, shall we say. So I would qualify the thing a little bit. And incidentally, I'm filming one of my own movies here in the background so that I'm not breaching any copyright. And it happens to be a Brisbane to Sydney trip by XPT. So I would say that a person can get from Sydney to Brisbane. I'm talking transport costs only, and I would also suggest one night's accommodation along the way to make the journey much more enjoyable and less tiring, shall we say. So I would use part of what Kerry was suggesting. There is a service out of Sydney. I think it's now, you'd need to check your train timetables, but at the present time I think it's like 5:56 in the morning, and it goes up to the Newcastle interchange in Newcastle by train, and you've got plenty of time to change over to a train leaving there currently at 8:39 a.m. going to Dungog, where you would have already booked using the $2.50 ticket. In other words, with less than 7 days booking. And my suggestion is you would travel from Dungog to Murwillumbah for the incredible price of $2.50. And then well, actually, you've got to go to Casino and you get a bus to Murwillumbah. So then you stay overnight at the hotel, which is diagonally across from the railway station, where the bus drops you off. Then you'll find that when you get up in the morning, that there are buses from only about 5 minutes walk away from the hotel that take you, well, less than a couple, it'd be a couple of dollars fare at the most, I would think, to Tweed Heads or Coolangatta. It's across the road from the Tweed Heads Mall. At that point, if you've got I'm hoping that you would have a go card. However, it is possible to use a credit card as long as you touch on and touch off again using the same credit card. That'll cost you the grand total of 50 cents to get into Brisbane. There's a frequent bus service, I believe every 5 minutes or so, and you can go by bus to Broadbeach South and get a tram, then a train at Helensvale and go to Brisbane, or you can go directly from Coolangatta to Varsity Lakes, where you can board a train and go to Brisbane. Now, that will cost less than $10. Now, as I wanted to state again, that does not include your hotel stay. So the thing is, that is probably one of the cheapest possible means of transportation between Sydney and Brisbane. It does work to a degree in the opposite direction, but what is required is to stay overnight, as I said once before. And one of the things that works out reasonably well is to go down from Brisbane to Murwillumbah, and the bus leaves Murwillumbah at 5:15 in the morning and connects at Casino for the XPT. But the XPT will only take you to, you need to get off at Dungog, and there's a local train service from Dungog to Newcastle, and of course from Newcastle to Sydney. So it is quite a long day, but in all everything's considered, it's pretty good. So really, another thing that comes to mind, and Kerry's going to do this, it's very difficult to get any connection during daylight saving in particular to the current XPT service, which departs at 5 a.m. from Brisbane. So there are various hotels in Brisbane, including the Chill Backpackers, and you could ask for get a single room, I guess, for that. And there are others, and you could basically do some research to determine which accommodation you would want if it's in Brisbane. But as I said, in Murwillumbah there is a hotel across the road, or diagonally across the road from the railway station, which you could book into and travel towards Sydney. But I would also caution people in that it used to be reasonably affordable to stay at Casino, but it's not anymore. There's a motel there I've used numerous times, is now costing about $200 a night. So I would say alarm bells to that. Don't do that, in other words. And there are not too many other motels around that within walking distance of the Casino railway station. So there's that. And really, I guess, at a pinch, you could continue to Grafton. Or actually, the station in Grafton is really in South Grafton. And I think that's difficult too, because it still is quite expensive, and I think you've got to do it online, and I think you've got to have a code number and all that sort of nonsense and get into your room. So once again, I return to the concept of Murwillumbah as a good option, and second best is Brisbane itself. So anyway, I've given you a few hints on this, and it is worth researching to work out the best option. But I do say very clearly that the fare from Sydney to Brisbane will be, using the methods that I've discussed, which includes going quite reasonably early out of Sydney up to Newcastle and changing for Dungog, under $10 for sure. So I thought I'd pass that on to people to consider, and I hope that you actually do a trip based on the information that I've provided. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you for viewing.